Good morning, Armor Down. I hope you found some sleep last night. Um, Sleep's going well for me. Uh, my only issue is that I feel like my bed is like the bed I had in Iraq, where, I don't know if you've ever had a bed like this, but you lay in it, and when you get up, there's like a big indention of where you lay, and your body's just kind of like rounded into this like cushion. Feels like our bed is just it's not doing its job. It's just kind of like holding up, and so I'm often feeling my lower back. So gotta do yoga to balance that out. But other than that, I'm fine. I want to talk about to begin, and then pass on some wisdom. Um, the troops at the Capitol. Man, I love seeing those pictures of soldiers at the Capitol. I love seeing our soldiers, no matter where they are. I don't care what our soldiers are doing. I want to see them. If our soldiers are around, I'm happy. You know, they are the best soldiers in the world. I know we've been in forever wars, and I know a lot of those wars are BS, and I know there's just so much around the politics of it all, but none of that matters with regards to our soldiers. Our soldiers are the best. Gosh. And then my cousin got deployed to the Capitol. It's weird to say that they've been deployed to the Capitol, but nonetheless, my cousin's there. His name's Patrick, and he's the man. He's the man. He's just a good dude, and I'm thinking about him a lot. And I know they're having a good time at the Capitol because the threat is still. I mean, we're not in the type of environment where you're surrounded on all sides by people that want to destroy you. That's just not the case. Okay, um, and so I know they're just kind of like in awe of the city. They're in awe of being there. I know they're probably getting pizza and coffee, and it's before too long. I guarantee you, civilians from DC are going to start coming out and just being cool. And I'm just I love them. So here's to the soldiers. Here's to our troops. Two thumbs up. Just so glad you're there. I'm so glad you're there. And this is why we support the troops. This is why we take care of our veterans. This is why we spend so much time and energy and money in taking care of our soldiers, because it can all fall apart that easily. But because we have our soldiers, we're going to be okay. I mean, that's just, uh, love it. Anyway, I had I've been talking about how to talk to people. You're 2 plus 2 is 4 person. You're 2 plus 2 is 5 person. You know, reading stuff about we need shared truths and all this other kind of stuff. Um, two things. One is we don't need shared truths. We just need to be able to share the space. All we need to share is space. We don't need to share truths. We don't need to share ways of thinking. We don't even need to share realities. We just need to share space. That's it. Because the notion that there's a common truth for everyone is just not true, and it's a fool's errand to try to maintain it. So I'm talking about people. Now, with regards to the law, okay, it's different. The law is the framework of society, okay? The law has to share truths, right? So that's the distinction, the law, okay? Human beings inside the law don't have to share anything other than space. That's it. Okay, how do you get there? I've been talking about, well, you interact with, if you're 2 plus 2 is 4 person, if you're 2 plus 2 is 5 person, how do you interact with that? Obviously not shared truth. And I found an easier way to do it, easier way to explain it yesterday talking to my 7-year-old daughter, Allegra. And one way to think about this is rock, paper, scissors. So Allegra was talking about something being on her mind and how much it scared her. And I said, well, why are you choosing that? And she was like, well, it's the most powerful. And I said, well, that's just thought. You're just interacting with thought. And she said, well, what are my choices? And I said, well, have you ever played rock, paper, scissors? She goes, yeah. And I go, well, what's the strongest play? And she's like, paper? It's like, no, scissors beats paper. She's like, rock? It's like, no, paper beats rock. And she was like, scissors? It's like, no. And she's like, well, they're all the same. And I was like, exactly, my darling. And so she just kind of like thought about that. But anyway, it hit me. I was like, oh, that's how I could explain it. Because if you look at rock, paper, scissors as your resources for interacting in space, right? So you don't need to share reality with people. You just need to share space with them. So they come with rock. Don't try to tell them that that rock is bad. Now you got to do this skillfully, so it takes practice. If they come with rock, you come with paper, okay? If they come with scissors, you come with rock. So what do I mean? Mind, body, spirit. I haven't decided exactly which ones are related to what, but I think mind is paper, body is scissors, and rock is spirit. And so what you've got inside of you at any given moment is access to mind, body, and spirit. So if someone throws out scissors and you're like, I can't get down with that, then throw out rock. Like, you can't fight, right? You can't fight. And I'll talk about this more. We talked about this so much last year in the Art of Peace, and we'll do it again this year. So there's got to be an element of skill to this. This isn't brute strength or just kind of meat-headedness. There's skill involved. But what I want to point out to you is that you wouldn't, if you're throwing rock, if you're throwing paper, if you're throwing scissors, you wouldn't say, I am rock, me as a person. You would say that you're the chooser. So you're choosing rock or paper, you're choosing scissors or paper or rock. You're the chooser, right? That's mindfulness. Mindfulness is that choice. Mindfulness is the choice of what to throw in rock, paper, scissors. Now, it's much more sophisticated in life, but nonetheless, it's pointing to the chooser, okay? The chooser to be with that. So I just wanted to point that out. I'm going to talk more about that because I really like the game, because if it can connect to a 7-year-old, it can connect to any of us. So that's enough on wisdom. Let's get to the training today. The training today is around Dr. Bressel Kolk, The Body Keeps Score. He wrote this book. I think it's about 3 or 4 years old, but it's a really powerful book. It really talks a lot about how the body is this super integrated element that basically keeps tabs on what you think inside of it. So all of your thoughts are all registered in your body in different ways. And if there's trauma, it's registered in your body in really big ways. And part of unpacking trauma and unpacking the challenges inside of ourselves is literally getting good at being with the sensational experience of what's coming up. Mindfulness is where you practice being with what's coming up in the present moment. So if you're not practicing mindfulness, when something comes up, you typically go back to it. And when you go back to it, you reinforce the problem. With mindfulness, you don't go back. You stay with it in the present moment. And as you stay with what's showing up in the present moment, you can start to unpack it. Now, if you got stuff really, really packed in, and I'm not going to go into all the details of it, so I encourage you to read the book. But if you got stuff really packed in, it takes a team to help you unpack it. It takes a team to armor down. And so while we're here to teach you the mindfulness part, the part that helps you stay with what's going on in the present moment, and then how to use that to navigate the rest of your life, the unpacking of it, the support structures, if you've got some deep trauma that's really worked in, you need a team. It's plain and simple. Now, luckily nowadays, we've got all kinds of different resources out there, but you got to have a team. You got to have a team to help you, but then you've got to practice the mindfulness. And the reason why you have to practice mindfulness is because you have to be aware. You have to be aware of what's going on in the present moment. Because no matter how strong your team is, if you keep going back to the trauma, okay, you keep reliving it over and over and over again back there in your thoughts, then the body just keeps keeping score. But if you start to interact with what's going on in the present moment, the body starts to drop the armor, okay? So the armor starts to come off, and you start to get underneath all the stuff, and then it starts to come out. Sometimes it can be brutal. totally brutal. It's not an easy path. But this is what us warriors know, is that once you start to make a little bit of progress, once you start to see, I'm getting it, then the suffering becomes manageable, bearable, and kind of a sign that you're doing what you're doing. And the thing about us warriors is that if you can get through it, okay, you know how dark it is. You know you can get through it, and you know you can share it with others. So let's leave that for the kind of the discussion part and get into the actual practice itself. We're going to go straight into seated posture. So pick your seated posture, what you like, whether it's a chair, whether it's a stool or whatever. Get into your seated posture, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the chunks that I want you to pay attention to, and then we're going to go all the way through 4 bells. So go ahead and start getting yourself comfortable. I'm going to take the shoes off, and we'll get into a practice. I'm 40 years old now, so I just caught myself, instead of going, ugh. So like, when you get 40, you can make noises when you do anything, and that makes it look like you're trying harder. I've known that. So whenever I do anything for my wife, I'm always making exertions. Oh God. So when you get old, you gotta make sure you still get attention, right? You know. So anyway, take your shoes off, get yourself squared away, get yourself comfortable. Follow your cues for comfort, right? So what are your cues for comfort? Those are the little things in your body that you know, because you practice and pay attention, that feel good. So you follow those cues. You do the things that you like, and you set it up how you like it. That's following your cues. You always follow your cues, because the more you follow your cues, the more noticeable they'll be, and the more noticeable they'll be, the faster you can follow them. Now, do not think that you got to sit with some kind of special yogic skill. Set your ass up on some pillows. None of this stuff matters. The body is meant, when we practice, our goal is to get out of the way. Get out of the way of the body. Get everything quiet and get down in there. Because once we get through the body, we get to the open-heartedness. And once we get to the open-heartedness, we're into the stuff that makes life worth living. Like, you're not just getting through your trauma, and you don't armor down just because you don't want to get rid of the trauma. You armor down because there's so much to life that makes life freaking awesome, and we want to interact with that stuff as much as possible. So that's what you're doing when you're practicing. You're not just trying to fix your broken self. You're trying to get to the good stuff, the stuff that's in there. Oh, that's a good setup right there. You're going to get to the stuff that's in there, that's always in there. That's why it's called Armor Down. It's all the good stuff's always in there. You just gotta reconnect to it, get it fired up again, get it going. And that's when life just becomes so worth living. And man, I'm so glad I'm still here. The opposite is, I got to get out of here. And, we know how that goes. We know a lot of people take that route. And, I respect them for taking that route. It takes a lot of courage to take that route. But it takes more courage to do? It takes more courage to stick with it. And you will be rewarded by sticking with it. Okay? So anyway, get yourself set. Now the chunks, okay, you got your ground. That's what I just established is my ground. So I've got all these cushions. Don't worry about it. Get as many cushions as you want. Create a freaking throne of cushions. This isn't yoga. This isn't minimalism. This is get yourself as comfortable as you can make it. I've got a bean bag. I've got my Armor Down cushion. I've got another cushion my mom gave me. None of that stuff matters. What matters is comfort. That's first chunk. Second chunk is your pelvis. Okay. Third chunk is your core. Fourth chunk's heart space. Fifth chunk's throat space. Then sixth chunk is your head. Okay. Remember, first bell, we tap into senses. Second bell's body. Third bell's breath. Fourth bell is open-heartedness. So third and fourth bell, third bell will come next week. I'll dig into that more, and then fourth bell, dig in that more the last week of January. But anyway, let's practice. Okay, let's do the thing. What do you hear? Where do you hear what you hear? If you were to visualize a clock, if you're facing 12, where would the sounds be? Excuse me. If you've closed your eyes, can you notice light and shadow behind your eyes? If you haven't closed your eye, can you look around and notice light and shadow? My job as your facilitator is just to encourage you to be curious. Curiosity tames the mind every time. The thing about light and shadow is you never notice as much shadow as there really is until you look. Shadow and light are always playing together. If you want to close your eyes, go ahead. Tap into smell. Can you smell anything right now? If not, register the absence of smell. Touch. What's the temperature in the room feel like, and how can you tell? Is air moving anywhere? Can you feel temperature on your skin? Can you feel temperature difference on your skin? Some places being hotter or colder than others. Lastly, what's going on inside your mouth? What do you feel inside your mouth? Maybe there's a taste, maybe there's just moisture, maybe there's something else. What do you notice in the mouth? Comes bell 2. Connect to your ground, what's beneath you. Notice what you feel if you pay attention to where your body's connected to what's beneath you. What parts of your feet, sides of your feet, your shins, backs of your legs, buttocks. Move up to the pelvis. Feel free to shift a little bit. Create a little feedback. Movement creates a little bit of feedback. So little shifts, maybe just a wiggle, give you a little feedback. See if how you're seated is most comfortable for you. And maybe you're getting a cue from your body to do a little shifting. Do it. Do it. This isn't suck it up. This is, can I be more comfortable? Okay, let's do it. Core. For me, the core is typically being collapsed or pulled in some form or fashion. I try to relax it. So maybe there's a relaxation there. Maybe there is a pull in. Maybe you do want to pull your core in. Maybe it feels good to condense your core a little bit. It's your call. Just be mindful of how you're breathing. If you pull or condense anything, if it interrupts your breathing, you want to find a more balanced approach so that your breath is smooth. We'll work at that in bell 3. heart space. So just, it's always a good idea to move the shoulder blades a little bit. That moves the collarbones around, creates a little movement through the heart space. Come up to the throat. You might be able to notice a swallow feeling. Notice how a swallow feeling has a start, a middle, and an end where it disappears. Just notice that. Get to the head. Now the top of the head is the top of the spine, so you want to be alert and relaxed, but you also want to think about your face. Your face connects to the vagus nerve. Okay, it's a complex of nerves. It's one of three kind of main streams of information that's moving from your brain to your body. Your face is a big one. So it's your kind of communications nerve. And so what I want you to do is I want you to focus on your face, soften behind your eyes, soften your cheeks, soften your mouth, soften your lips, tongue, and chin. Let your face be as soft and relaxed as you can make it. And then real slow, add a smile behind your eyes. Add a smile behind your cheeks. And add the tiniest of smiles on your mouth. It's a kind of smile, it's like a wry smile. No one would really notice it. You have to really be looking at you to see, oh, why are they smiling? It's like, oh, it's kind of like a curious, like, what are you smiling about kind of. Let's move to third bell. Check in with your breathing as it is. Don't try to change it. Just notice it as it is. Now, go ahead and max it out. So take in as big a breath as you can. And let it go. Biggest breath as you can. And let it go. Now let's do 5. Count 5. So you're going to inhale, and you're going to say the word 1 as long as you're inhaling. You're going to exhale. You're going to say the word 1 as long as you're exhaling. You're going to do that up to 5. So you're going to do 5 fully present breaths. Okay? So when you're ready, go ahead and do 5. I'll do it with you. You say it in your head. You say the 1, 1, 2, 2. Do it on the breath. Now just sit for just a minute. Just sit quiet, no effort, no work. And just kind of notice what's going on inside. Fourth bell. What are you grateful for? Maybe it's a local thing. Maybe it's something real close. You know, like you're in a building that has 4 walls and a roof. It's got some temperature control. Maybe it's running water. Maybe it's having a toilet. Maybe it's even more local than that. Maybe it's clothes. Maybe it's just that you're still breathing. Maybe it's that you're practicing today. Maybe it's just the sense that you set a goal to practice and you're doing it. Maybe it's a little bit bigger. Maybe it's something kind of more grandiose, like, you know, thankful that our country has laws, or thankful that our country has rules that are being maintained, thankful that our country has soldiers that are competent and well trained and well disciplined. Maybe it's that we live on this planet. Maybe that we have air to breathe. Maybe it's just trivial, like your technology. Maybe you're just really grateful for social media or for Netflix or streaming. Whatever it is, imagine it growing in your heart. Imagine your heart kind of taking it in. And we talked about the body keeps score, right? Well, the body keeps the whole score, not just the trauma score, but the whole score. So when you're practicing gratitude, you're doing the same thing to the body with gratitude that the body does with trauma, except instead of storing trauma, it's storing gratitude. So imagine that it's like a battery being charged up with gratitude. And now picture beyond yourself. Picture in your mind someone or somebody or something that could use the goodwill that you've cultivated in your heart. Someone who's suffering, someone who's struggling. See if you can imagine your goodwill in your heart streaming out through an invisible string to theirs. Just picture it. Cool part is, the more gratitude you have and the more you give away, the bigger your container for gratitude becomes and the more gratitude that you can hold. So it's something we've always known. We knew it under different terms, the topic concepts of honor and virtue. The more you have, the more you're capable of. You know this as a parent. If you have 1 kid, you can't imagine how you could ever have the energy for 2. You get to have 2 kids, and then all of a sudden your heart grows. Same thing with compassion. So get beyond yourself. Push out into the world of challenge and suffering and pain and give a little bit of your life. Be intentional about finishing. Take 2 breaths, and the second exhale finishes the practice. Right. Good training. Good training. Okay. Let's get going on Thursday. We got a day to do, and we got a day to do it well. We're going to do it well. We've got our practice in. We're already playing with house money. Bam. Let's make it happen today. Do something today that you hadn't figured you were going to do. Do something today that you've been meaning to do, but you haven't done it yet. Do that today. Do it. Let's get it going. We got soldiers on the ground that are protecting the democracy. We need to make sure that we're doing the best we can to be the best Americans that we can be on their behalf. They're doing that for us. We got to do something for us and for our families and our communities. So let's get going today. Let's have a good day. And we'll see you tomorrow. See, this is 40. When you're 40, you just make a big deal out of everything. Later, Armor Down.